Hi.
So we are at DoNew, and in DoNew, what we do is we bring on influencers or startup people or people who are doing something extraordinary in their field, and we see how their experiences and their journeys throughout that. So today with me, I have my host Shivam.
Thanks, Kapil. So today we have with us Mr. Bibin Babu. He's the co-founder of many startups, and I'll only introduce a few interesting concepts. So first, he's the founder of ProVR, which is a business solutions company. He's also the co-founder of InnoWork, which is a co-working space company. And the most interesting which we found was Blockspace, which is the blockchain
Correct.
development company. And it is one of the easiest first blockchain development companies. And without explaining much and giving much further, we'll introduce him. Hi, Vivin.
Hi, Shivam. Thank you so much for making me part of this entire session. Thanks, Kapil. Looking forward.
Yeah. So Vipin, the thing is, we want to know what is the benefit of blockchain. Basically, first thing, and how like you are helping the PSUs and MNCs. What's the use? What is the benefit that these companies are getting through your startup?
Okay. So, I mean, at the onset, let me just quickly, help you understand why do we even need this kind of a technology,
Correct.
right? Whenever I'm speaking at a lot of conferences, I tell people that blockchain is a technology which is giving the power back to the people, the way we used
Correct.
to live. So it is totally removing the middlemen. It is ensuring that there is no camouflaging or corruption of data, information, money, or whatsoever, or power for that matter. So to answer your question, what we are trying to do with the PSUs is helping them to create a system which will make the people or the users or citizens trust them better. And when I say trust them better, it's going to be as simple as having all kind of transparency in every transaction from the minimum to the maximum, be it money, be it land records, be it supply chain or anything. Simple. So we are making things more trustworthy.
So is there a specific is there a specific department which gets benefited out of this, or it's the whole company account that you take care of when you goes to a PSU or a MNC?
See, in terms of PSUs, it happens from section to section or a department to department, right?
Okay.
But as per the World Economic Forum reports, by 2025, there's going to be at least 28% to 35% of the industries which are going to implement blockchain. So I'm talking about the industry. So which means that more or less all departments of that particular industry will be using technologies like blockchain.
Okay.
But then just tell me one thing, when somebody talks about blockchain, generally the first thing which comes to mind is Bitcoins and cryptocurrencies going around, because that is how the concept, at least for everyone, got famous. So now what are the other...
Oh, yeah, you can see something on the back here. Yes.
No, my question
that is correct.
What are the other benefits of blockchain and how is it being used in the industry and how exactly it is going about?
See, first of all, I would want people to know who don't know, and I've been trying to do this, that Bitcoin or any other cryptocurrency is just one application of the technology
of blockchain.
All right. So let me put it in simple words. It is just like comparing WhatsApp and internet. So WhatsApp is equivalent to Bitcoin and internet is equal to blockchain.
Correct.
Just one use case. All right. Though I am a fan of cryptocurrencies, legit ones, true ones, which are not scams, right? Which, I mean, the reason I'm a fan of them is because it has a power to remove a middleman, which technically are banks.
The RBI is the middleman in this scenario.
I will still say let RBI be there. Let the central governing banks be there. We may not need private banks in future, right? And it is fine. If I want to send you money, I want to buy something from you. Why do we need somebody else in between?
Correct.
So that's what cryptocurrency for me is. It has a larger power. In fact, I mean, I'm sorry, I'm deviating a little from what you asked.
No, it's fine.
But Shivam, I think rather a lot of think tanks of the blockchain industry believe that if cryptocurrencies and blockchain were massively adopted
Uh-huh.
during this corona situation across the globe, we wouldn't have had the problem of uh, importing and exporting, required essential things such as test kits or any kind of PPE
Correct.
kits and masks. It would have been just easy, right? So I think gradually people are realizing it, and probably before any time in future, any of this kind of a problem arises, we would be much more prepared. God forbid something of that happens, but this kind of a technology actually helps to save lives. It is an era where you can be quick. It is the era of it is not about the fittest, it's about the quickest. So blockchain
absolutely, yeah.
Right. So to answer your question on the blockchain perspective, Shivam, apart from the finance industry, blockchain impacts kind of all segments or all industries. Most importantly, as per me, apart from finance, it is the supply chain. So for me, supply chain is the most important application or most important sector where blockchain is playing a very important role. Why do I say that? Is because as per UN reports, there's close to 40% of fake products.
Okay.
40 odd percent. Can you
imagine?
But
40 is too high.
Yeah, that is what 40 odd percent. I mean, this is the number of 2013. Oh. I'm probably talking about 7 years back. It has come down a little, of course, right? But then I don't know the exact figures right now, so I'm not quoting them. But even if it has come down by 0.5%,
it's still a high number.
It's still a high number. So in supply chain, blockchain ensures that there are no fake products, right? There are no expired medicines which we are going to consume, or any kind of anything which we consume as humans or use.
Correct.
Right. So supply chain is one. Thirdly, on the e-governance, I think government needs to take up a plunge and say that okay, we're going to implement this technology because e-governance. And in e-governance, blockchain plays a very important role.
Correct.
Bringing more transparency.
So it can provide us safety. It can avoid spurious goods outside. One thing is a fake good. The other thing is something which may be actually harmful to us.
Exactly.
So it might save them. It might save indirectly. What I can understand, if government starts implementing it, there's quite a bit of chances in curbing corruption and other aspects as well.
Correct.
And Vibin, we also came to know that you started a boot camp on practical uses of blockchain, right? So what was your thought process behind starting this, and what's the use of starting a boot camp specifically for blockchains?
Okay, so why I think this is because I come from a tech background. I moved on to I was in the US for a while, working with a major company when I started my career, and I kind of felt that we Indians a lot of times miss out on the bus just because we are late to adopt, right?
Absolutely.
So my agenda of doing that was to ensure that at least the basics of blockchain reaches the maximum people across our country. Reason, when there is an opportunity which is going to be on towards the rising radar, we guys should be ready and in a position to adopt it.
Absolutely.
And when we say that we have the largest youth population in our country, it also means that we have the largest number of people who might be employable or non-employable.
Correct.
So on that perspective, so my only small motive was that all our techies at least, or people who are from a tech background or who have tech aptitude, should be in a position to take up and grab this opportunity when it comes internationally. I probably have a dream that if India can be the capital of blockchain talent.
Oh, it's a big dream though.
Oh yes, it is. I mean, dreams have to be big, my dear friend.
Yeah.
So when coming back to one thing you were really enthusiastic about, and there was a recent Supreme Court judgment on which gives a thumbs up to the cryptocurrencies in India. So what do you think its effect would be, and how would it play about?
Okay, so I would put it across three parts just to answer this question. One,
Hmm.
how would be the impact? I would rather say what is the impact. So after
Correct.
this notification from the Supreme Court, there has been 10 times increase on cryptocurrency transactions and purchases by Indians on any kind of cryptocurrency exchange.
Oh,
Right. So that's
okay.
been the impact already. 10x
Okay.
is the number, and I'm talking about yesterday, just yesterday.
Oh.
This is the update from just yesterday. All right. Secondly, I believe it is opening up an entire opportunity for millennials.
Correct.
This is an overused word, millennials, but we guys know we are millennials.
We are.
Right. So it is opening up a very important aspect towards millennials. Especially in the scenario where you're not going to be having a lot of career opportunities which were there in the past. You're going to be immobile. The global economy is actually,
absolutely,
the graph is going towards down. It's going to take a while to come that to shape up.
Correct.
So that's the second. It's going to give millennials an amazing opportunity. Thirdly, I believe that all the international trades which have got on a halt for XYZ reasons, that those people and those players will start getting involved in the crypto space, where the trade finances will start probably happening much more on cryptocurrency as compared to probably 6 months back.
Okay.
So these are three impacts I see on the crypto space. And but the only thing before I kind of stamp on it is that, my dear friends, please get more information and knowledge about cryptocurrency, whichever you're going to deal with. Be it a Bitcoin or be it a XYZ coin, whatever. I would recommend that probably deal with the top five or top 10 or top 15. That is it. So that's what I believe.
Quite a bit
and that's what I actually promote and practice.
Correct, because there are so many.
Yeah.
And is it true that anyone can create a cryptocurrency of their own? They don't need any legalization or anything?
That's in a way, yes. In a way, yes.
Correct.
So for example, but then there is a deep concept behind it, my dear friends. So for example, we three right now can create a cryptocurrency and use it amongst ourselves. But will it have a validation from the banks? No. All right. So it is just like creating that. Okay, I have so there is a couple coin, right? And Shivam accepts it and Bibin accepts it in lieu to a service. Right. So that way it is definitely possible. However, if you want to have a monetary value which is approved and accepted by a larger community, then there are laws which are in place. Not in our country, unfortunately, in a lot of countries, that so and so particular currency is a stable coin and is say approved by the SEC, or say for example, in a lot of countries, Bitcoin is accepted and is legalized. In Holland, I mean, you can buy groceries using Bitcoin, right?
Oh, nice.
So it is about acceptance, right? It is about acceptance. So if a coin or a currency, digital currency created by us, is being massively adopted and accepted and used, then it will have a monetary value.
Okay.
Right. Okay. Let's just simply understand here. So why did we somebody decided that gold is going to be the underlying, the base, right? It could have been wood. It could have been wood. It could have been silver. It could have been copper. Anything.
In fact,
right?
Sometimes
it is about the acceptance. Exactly. Right. So why gold came into picture is because of its limitation. It was limited. It has a limited quantity which can be ever mined. So similarly, you have to ensure that there is a limited, outflow of the currency which you're talking about. Yes.
Correct.
And thirdly, it has to have a larger acceptance in the larger community. Only then.
So like how a company or a particular group or masses accept a cryptocurrency? Because is there a stamp system? Like initially you were saying that we still need the central banking system. Maybe through them we create a system and goes to the bank, and then it is applied or acceptable to the masses once the stamp is approved from the bank or something. So is there a system in place which does that right now?
See, in terms of cryptos, it is the technology which does it. It is okay. So we call it as, so there are a lot of consensus protocols. So technically we have 3 consensus protocols within an algorithm which is used. And there are millions of nodes. When I say nodes, there are millions of people using it who accept it, who approve it. So there is a huge, so we might have to do a workshop around it, that how does this actually functions. But that's the point here. So it is not a central bank which is stamping it. It is a huge number of people or nodes or systems which are approving it. And on any day, it has to be more than 51%, 50%.
Correct.
Right. So one bank can be corrupt. One central body or one person in the central body may be corrupt.
Correct.
But on any day, there's not going to be, in one network, there's not going to be more than 50% people or nodes which are corrupt. And when I'm talking about millions
it's
of
a high, correct, highly impossible kind of scenario.
Exactly. And for that, you will need to have the computation power of at least the 51% of the nodes, which is technically almost impossible.
Yeah. Got it. Good. So, okay, we have talked enough about the cryptocurrency and your startups on cryptocurrency, but you are co-founder of various other startups which work in co-working space and other sectors. So tell us more about the other startups as well and what they do and how you ended up from them to block.
Okay, so blockchain, happened because of my love towards technology.
Correct.
It's just that so-called craze that you need to learn something new. I will keep on and off. So that's when in 2015, I started learning about blockchain, and that's how Blockspace came into picture. Right. However, InnoWork is a co-working space. So, and that clearly came into picture, keeping in mind startups and smaller companies. So I am very active in the startup ecosystem. I'll not say very active, but I'm active enough across the country, in countries like Bulgaria, Canada, Australia, and so on and so forth. So InnoWork came into picture because of that. So in fact, when we started Blockspace, we had parallelly started a co-working space with the same name.
Okay.
Right, but that was only for blockchain enthusiasts.
Okay.
Right, and for only blockchain companies. And gradually we realized that is not the way it should be done. We need to pivot and we need to open it for more technology startups or non-technology startups and smaller companies. And that's where the thought of InnoWork came into picture. And InnoWork, our focus is actually on startups and scale-ups. People who have probably just got funded or they're just 2-3 years old. I'm not saying that we don't cater to corporates, we do, but then we've been very clear that we need to support more and more entrepreneurship, more and more companies to grow out of us. So at InnoWork, we actually help people also in their business upgradations. That's what we do. So we right now are present in Delhi NCR, Noida, in Gurgaon. Noida, we have actually 3 odd sites. Right, we have Pune, we have Bangalore, right? We are expanding to Canada, actually Toronto. Nice. So that's totally a co-working space which brings together people and help them work. And I think especially in today's scenario after Corona, a lot of companies are going to scale down.
Absolutely.
And they would need brands which are trustworthy. Who will ensure that the safety of people, right? B, cost effective, and C, near to their houses, right?
That is also true.
If not 100% work from home, it is definitely going to be work near home.
Sure.
All right. So that's how InnoWork came into picture, and we are looking forward. I mean, there are a lot of people saying that co-working will not work. It's going to have a downside, and so on and so forth. I have a different opinion. I believe the industry is here to stay, but then it is going to stay only for people who are going to stick to the basics and stick to it right.
Correct. Absolutely. Like now, maybe it will become more selective towards a particular sector or a particular set of startups.
Correct, correct.
So,
Not
so
just startups. I actually believe that now is the time when
Huh.
corporates should get into spaces like these. Because
Yeah.
if companies like say TCS or Infosys are saying that we're going to cut down 70 odd percent
Oh.
to work from home,
Okay.
right?
Okay. Correct.
Which,
I
which
heard.
also means that the heavy inventories which they have, heavy buildings
Lo-
which they will need
Logistics
to
also will
vacate
go
that,
down. Correct. Absolutely.
right? And and I believe that's where the opportunity lies for co-working spaces.
Actually.
but
Correct.
wouldn't the social distancing norms and all these influence put a strain on the co-working space? How do you
It
consider?
will. It definitely would have an impact. Every industry had an impact, has an impact, will have an impact.
Mhm.
Uh, the social, I mean, I rather think that when it comes to co-working spaces, it's going to be comparatively easier for the co-working brands to manage. For
Mhm.
example, we can just redo the floor plan,
Mhm.
right? We can just redo the floor plan.
Mhm.
Secondly, we can just have different shift timings for people
Mhm.
to come in
Yeah. That can also.
all
Correct.
across
Correct.
all around the clock.
Hmm.
And thirdly, there's going to be one particular team which is going to be totally taking care of social distancing, their sanitation, probably their temperature checks, mask,
Mhm.
gloves, or whatever, right? I think probably co-working spaces will now have a designation called as chief hygiene officer, maybe. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud.
Yeah. New job will be created because of Corona.
Yeah, there are, and there should be.
There should be. Yeah. Correct. So, like Bivin, you are part of so many different organization yourself, and you said that you are active in a startup world also. So, do you really get time out of your schedule? And if you get time, what you do in that free time?
Okay. So the answer to that mostly is a mostly no. We don't have too much of time, and especially, I
Correct.
mean, I keep myself in the millennial bracket, so a lot of
Uh,
things happen unplanned, right? So
correct.
technically, there are no too much of time available. However,
Uh,
whenever I do, I prefer
hmm.
reading,
Uh-huh.
and since I like doing a lot of theaters, so I try and watch theaters or do theaters.
Oh, you do
So
theaters. Okay. I have been doing
yes.
theaters since past 4 years. So,
Oh, fantastic. So
yeah.
that's been one of my favorite hobbies, passion rather. I've been
Uh-huh.
doing it since I was in my sixth standard. So
Oh,
I
then so
try
you are
and
guru in that also.
no, not at all, not at all. I just help me vent out my energy on the stage.
Yeah.
So these
Yeah.
are two
It
things
does
which I
help.
do,
Huh.
right? And if it is traveling, then I prefer eating. If I'm traveling, I prefer eating. That is how it is.
So, is there like a favorite book of yours? Since you said that you love reading, is there a favorite book which had an impact on you and the way you see things now?
Yes, I would rather say a couple of books.
Uh-huh.
One is The Lean Startup, which I keep
Uh-huh.
promoting to people.
Uh-huh.
Second is there is a book called as Ikigai. It is about the
Uh-huh.
Japanese way of living and finding your inner
Hmm.
real purpose, right?
Correct.
And thirdly, which probably made me become an entrepreneur, is Rich Dad Poor Dad,
So many people have read this, I'm pretty sure.
right? So because I'm a first gen entrepreneur,
Uh-huh.
so it's something which probably my second father, as per that
Uh-huh.
book, it was the book itself.
Uh-huh.
All right, so these are majorly three books which I keep recommending to people, and
Uh-huh.
there's one more which I tell to a lot of startup founders. There's a book
Uh-huh.
called as The Hard Things About Hard Things,
Nice.
right? So it is about taking up ownership and becoming a leader, and being
Uh,
a gunda whenever needed in a team.
oh,
So
correct.
these four books had an impact on me, and
Uh-huh.
I keep pushing and promoting these books.
Huh.
So, yeah, that's it.
Okay, so Vibin, we are on the end of our discussion. So
Mhm.
first of all, thank you so much. And we would like to know, like, what are these qualities or daily habits that you follow, which you want to tell our viewers or people who wants to become entrepreneur or influencers in their coming future. So before going, can you please explain to us are the habits that you follow on your day-to-day basis?
Uh, See, if I'm talking to young entrepreneurs here, my suggestion would be that persistence. I mean, I believe that I have a lot of persistence and patience. You need to keep that. You will try, and you will think that it is just about to happen, right? And it will not. So uh, don't lose on. You are on the right track. That's one. Second, one habit which I have is to keep going back to my mentors and asking them that whatever I'm doing, am I doing it right? So I take their opinions, though of course eventually I do whatever I think is right, but
Absolutely.
I definitely, so I will always recommend to people that have a mentor. That's one. And thirdly, I would say that have a clear sense of direction. क्या करना है, कहाँ जा रहे हो, जरा ये देख लो. रास्ता बदलना है तो एटलीस्ट ये तो पता होना चाहिए कि पहुंचना कहाँ है.
Correct. Destination definitely should be there.
Right. So there has to be some clear sense of direction. Fourth, but the most important, need to have integrity. सच्चे रहो to yourself. बहुत बड़ी भारी भरकम शब्द हैं ये, but बहुत simple है समझना. नहीं, just be honest यार. मतलब तुम्हें भी नहीं पसंद कि तुम्हारे साथ कोई धोखाधड़ी करे, चाहे वो तुम हो, तुम्हारे दोस्त हो, तुम्हारे कोई भी हो. Right.
Absolutely.
Similarly, if you want to make a life with something which you are doing, don't cheat it.
Correct.
Have your integrity. I mean, if it's your work, have integrity towards your work, and that comes from a smaller discipline. अगर तुमने सोचा था कि यार तुम्हें आज 5 बजे कुछ करना है, तुम्हारी एक क्लाइंट कॉल है, तो फिर 5 बजे क्लाइंट कॉल है, तो फिर तुम अगर वो इम्पोर्टेंट है तो you will not find an excuse. Don't cheat that. That is important.
Absolutely.
So for me, integrity comes at that small levels. So these are a couple of things, qualities which I think I am trying to improve and imbibe, and people should also. Lastly, जो मेरे में नहीं है और मैं चाहता हूँ कि होनी चाहिए, वो है self discipline. I try to be more and more disciplined, but probably someday I will be. But that's one thing which you should try and practice: self discipline. So 5 qualities which I think, and I think all the entrepreneurs globally think this is what is required.
Correct.
Thank you, Bipin, for joining us.
Thank you, Shivam. It was a good quick chat. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your time.
Stay safe.
Thank you.
And you too, and all the best for your future work. And thank you so much for your time.
Same to you, my dear friends. Bye.
Bye.
So that was Bipin Babu with all the insightful things on how blockchain is going and what is the future of blockchain in India. So for all the startups and entrepreneurs who are starting, who think of venturing on their own, there's a book called Ease of Doing Business. It is by a colleague, Disha Omkumar. It's a compilation of all corporate compliances and exemptions for startups.
And the link for the book will be in the description. Do check it out, guys. It will be really helpful.
And Bipin Babu is also featured in the book.